All
Yep.
right, everybody. Thank you very much for coming today. We're very lucky to have the subject that we haven't been thinking about as much lately, but hopefully we'll be thinking about a whole lot more, which is travel, getting out and enjoying the world that we've got around us. And for that, we've got, I'm guessing CTA is certified travel agent?
It's associate, but you'd think it
Associate,
was
okay.
agent. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's Amber Pietan, and she's going to talk a little bit about what might be open now, some places where you can go to find that information, and things you might have to do to prepare to travel, I would guess, because it's going to be a whole different travel world out there. So with that, I'll hand it off to Amber.
Hi, everyone. And honestly, feel free to unmute yourself and have an interactive conversation here. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background. I've been a travel agent for 21 years as of this summer. I was with AAA in Mankato for 13 and a half years, and 7.5 years ago, I started my own business. I do have an office down by SignPro, and the hotel that just changed names, Norwood Inn, I think it is now. I do have an office down there. I've been there 7.5 years, like I said. I am a CTA. I'm one of the few in Southern Minnesota, Certified Travel Associate. You do have to be a full-time agent for 5 years, and it takes about 1.5 years to study. There's 3 levels of CTA, CTC, and CCC, I believe, but I do have a lot of different certifications over 21 years, and I do have a website. My business is just called Amber Pietan Travel Agency. I did it that way because when I was little, my dad used to say to me, "You're going to have a business named after your name, whether it's Amber's Subs or Amber's Groceries or Amber's Travel." And two, my name's in the beginning of the alphabet, and I figured if you Googled Amber Travel Mankato after I left AAA because of legal reasons, I couldn't take clients' names with me, and so I figured it'd be easy to find. So yeah, ups and downs. Throughout 21 years, I mean, I've seen different things like wars and SARS and September 11th, and COVID's definitely been the hardest. But the thing is with working with a travel agent is that we will work with you, advise you, be your coach, and help you with any kind of issues that you have, whether it's before, during, or after the trip. Um, Insurance is kind of a new thing that, I mean, everybody's always taken insurance, but there's different kinds of insurance. If you read in the fine print of your standard insurance, a pandemic actually isn't covered, and so that's kind of a new thing that has, you always learn something with everything, and with the insurance, definitely selling it a little bit differently so that you do have the cancel for any reason, which is what you need to have on there in order to be able to reschedule at a later date. I do have, things are changing constantly in the travel world always. And of course, with COVID, with the lucidness of COVID and, how many cases each state have or each county have, things are changing constantly. And, I could be really super organized and have every single county written down, but why? Because it's going to change tomorrow. So Florida right now is in phase 3. I have had clients who've gone to Mexico and Florida and Nashville. And the thing is about working at AAA is I was taught to sell the world, and I sell Europe, China, Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti, Mexico, Caribbean, Hawaii, Alaska. I sell it all, including the United States. And at first, when the ebbs and flows of this COVID started, everyone around me was like, "Well, you should really be promoting the United States because, the borders were closed." And we were. And when I say we, I do have 2 agents that work with me. They're independent contractors. They both work from home. One is Neil Kaus. A lot of people know who he is. He's been to Disney World 42 times, and he's kind of our Disney guru. And then the other one's Alina Adderdahl. She has gone back to teaching full-time because of COVID, but they are both still working with me in the travel industry. So when I say we, that's what I mean. Um, uh, let's see. So with the ebbs and flows, not knowing where things are going, like for example, a lot of things opened on June 1st or July 1st. Here's an example: Jamaica opened July 1st, and we're all very happy, excited. Um, and what you have to do though for Jamaica is you have to take a COVID test, and it has to be in a certified lab, and they have certain listing of the labs you have to take it at. And then you have to go online, and I send you the link, and you have to answer a health questionnaire, upload your test, which of course I can help you do, and wait for an answer. This is the only country that I know of that is doing it this way, and honestly, it's a mess. And I'm not sending anybody to Jamaica right now. In the beginning of all of this, kind of like how maybe yellow fever is out there, like if you go to certain Africa countries that I'll send you to, I thought maybe we were going to have COVID tests for anywhere you went, but already Dominican Republic has removed their required COVID test. It was from about June 1st until they just dropped it like 2 weeks ago. So things are changing, ebbs and flows, definitely. And hopefully Jamaica will drop it soon too, or do something similar to Hawaii. You just have to show up with the negative COVID test paperwork in your hand. Otherwise you do have to quarantine. So let me see. I know I kind of jumped into that right away, but I was going to tell you guys, I don't know if Mary, your last name, Murdestorf, your last name sounds familiar. I don't know if I've booked you before, but over 21 years I've booked Murdestorfs. But there might be a few in town, but I have won quite a few awards. I wanted to tell you guys, probably better to start that before I did the COVID, but just recently I was Best of Mankato. We were Best of Mankato Travel Agency #1. So that's really awesome. We're on Facebook, we're on Pinterest and Instagram. All of that, you can follow us, our pictures. But I was trying to think. As far as the people that are coming back, Mexico honestly is the easiest destination right now internationally to go to an all-inclusive. And my mind works so quickly, so slow me down if you have questions, but each city is called a market. So like Minneapolis is a market, Milwaukee's a market, Miami's a market. So the airfare out of the Minneapolis market, nonstop, typically Mexico, there's quite a few nonstop flights to Mexico, especially Cancun. So sometimes our Cancun is kind of our go-to. You do have to go online and fill out an online health questionnaire, like have you been around anybody with COVID, do you have a fever, things like that. You can actually fill out the immigration questionnaire online. They actually brought that out a couple years ago. So a little bit less touchy of paperwork and things like that. And then there's one last paperwork you have to fill out when you land. I'm not sure if all you guys are aware, of course, passports are required pretty much for anywhere. They're not required right now for cruises in general out of the US, but if you should get sick on an international destination, you can't fly home. So, and then passports, the biggest thing too is they need to be valid 6 months beyond your return stay, which is a little bit confusing, but if you were going to leave today, it would need to be valid through April. So otherwise you would be denied boarding on the way home, which is not good. The other thing we're all really kind of waiting for is cruises. And yesterday I believe the CDC, I was trying to understand it and read it myself. It was really confusing. It looked like Trump overrode the CDC recommendations, but something about the CDC extended the no sale order through October 31st. They're talking about doing it through the end of the year. If you talk to most travel agents, we're pretty sure that there isn't going to be a cruise until probably March, April, or May. We're hoping by May because that's when Alaska season starts. Alaska's May 15 to September 15. And honestly, hoping as well as the European countries open by the spring too, because your big European trips are May 15 to September 15 as well. Because of course Alaska's or excuse me, Canada's borders are closed. And I want to say that's through October 1st. See, and I say I think because when I sell the world, and I don't want to sound like I'm unknowledgeable, but it's a lot to keep up with. So if you just have a question, just directly ask me and I will find out and get back to you. That's the best answer instead of me saying I don't know, because it's hard to keep up with. And then as far as so I have a lot of people scheduled right now for cruises in December, January, and February, and March. I'm guessing those are going to be canceled. Thankfully, a lot of the vendors who, because it's a pandemic, and of course nobody planned for this, and travel insurance isn't covering for it if you didn't have the cancel for any reason, which most people did not. They're allowing you to move your money and your reservation to a year later. So it was pretty stressful that first month when I had, 200 people canceling at once, and now I'm not doing a whole lot. But actually yesterday I did reschedule 10 people to Europe. So it's starting to open up, and we're assuming that it's going to open up. I do have some websites I can share with you guys that I get into to find out what things are happening. But do you guys have any questions so far of anything I've said that you can think of? And like I said, feel free to unmute yourselves and chat. Do you want to share your screen, Mike? And I can share.
Yeah, you've got access to it.
Okay. Share screen. Okay. Awesome. Let's see here. This is the one I want. Okay, so this is a website. It's called Delta Vacations. World Agent Direct is the company that travel agents use. And so, for example, if you would say to me, Amber, I really want to go to Hawaii. When can I go? When are they opening? And you see, they tell us the name of the hotel and the date that they're opening. I'll move down here. Aulani, a Disney resort, is a big one that a lot of families are waiting for. They actually just announced they're going to start opening here soon. But see, a lot of these are October. So this is where I go. The Polynesian show looks like it's not going to start until January 1st. My best guess is a lot of these things are 30 to 50%. That was the other thing I was going to say with Mexico. So Dominican Republic did just actually drop their requirement for a negative COVID test when you arrive, and making it much easier, because as your advocate, I'm always wondering, okay, what can go wrong here? Okay, do we have the airfare? Do we have the seat assignments? Do we have the frequent flyer numbers? Who's picking them up at the airport? Who's dropping them off at the hotel? By the way, you should tip them $1 per bag, and things like that. And so to have you arrive and you take a health questionnaire and say you have a fever, I'm trying to send you to destinations where you wouldn't be quarantined we just want to make sure that that you're protected, that you're taken care of, and you're going to be safe. Aruba actually is selling COVID insurance that you have to buy when you arrive. I think you can buy it ahead of time. I had a couple of clients that canceled, but what it does is if you get symptoms and you have to be quarantined there for 14 days, it pays for your housing. So these are different places I can look at. Kauai, I put a lot of people in the Grand Hyatt Kauai, but they're opening November 1st. So Hawaii, it took a while for them to keep, and I'm sure you saw it in the news, to say, and they just opened it up here a couple weeks ago as well, to where you don't have to quarantine as long as you show up with a negative COVID test. Someone has a question. With second wave of COVID hitting Europe, do you think US will close our border? We're not even open yet to Europe. So it's not even open yet, to be honest with you. Let me see if I go back on this page. I wonder if I haven't even explored this, but if we even open this, like a lot of these, yeah, borders are closed to U.S. citizens in Germany. COVID test is mandatory, but it's not even open yet. So if there is a second wave, it's honestly not even open. So then it'll tell me which country and where they're accepting people from. And I'm not even I'm not sure that this is something you guys can have access to because this is a travel agent site, but there is a Delta Vacations consumer site that I would imagine they have a lot of this on. And then you can click on travel requirements. Italy, of course, was hit hard. They're all closed to U.S. citizens. So to answer your question, Mary, will it be closed again? It hasn't opened yet, to be honest, and we're hoping that it will open I'm hoping by the spring.
Is it both ways, Amber? That Europeans can't get in and U.S. people can't go there?
Europeans can't get in here. Come here, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, does it work both directions?
I would think it does. Yeah, I would think it does for sure. Yeah, I don't know because honestly, to book we can't really book one round trip tickets. Like if you had a sister in Germany and she wanted to come here and go back, it raises a lot of red flags for what is the word? Not vandalism. What's the word? You know, for someone to hurt us. Terrorism. So a lot of times it's just easier for someone to book their ticket. Or I have clients who have family in a different country, and a lot of times I can't book their cruise if they want to cruise. Sometimes I can, so you just have to ask. But so this is a very useful tool for me. Right now, honestly, I've been selling Mexico because it's open. I know what the other thing I was going to say is that right now, today, the hotels are open approximately 30 to 50% at CDC's recommendations. And of course, when you arrive into the airports, everything is disinfected, high touch areas, social distancing is required. Masks are required at the airports. They're required inside the airplanes. They're required when you land in the airport in that destination. They're required inside the transportation. They're deep cleaned as well. You handle your own luggage, and they're capped at 60%. You get to the hotel, you check in, you leave your mask on until you actually get into your hotel room. That's when you can take your mask off. Of course, those are deep cleaned, things like that. So things are definitely different, but they're also only at 30 to 50% capacity. But everybody's been really happy because they're Mexico I'm speaking of, or the Caribbean destinations I have clients go to, they're very happy to have us. Tourism for them is like 80% of their income. It's a lot, maybe 50%. It's a lot. And they don't argue with the mask mandate. They don't say, there's no way you're telling me to wear a mask or not. And they just do it because they welcome us. Everybody's been very happy, very welcoming. And so people have been really said that it was the best trip they've ever had.
So are they, you're talking about all-in-one resorts, right? Or
Yep, talking about all-inclusive, yep, specifically.
Or all-inclusive, okay. Yep. So like, are there things outside of that are open that they can do or not? Or do they have to stay at the resort?
Nope, they can go out, but they will have to wear a mask, and they do need to check with the concierge to see if they need to make a reservation for a restaurant, for example, like we do here. But like Aruba, for example, has a lot of dining. It's a very small island, and it's really easy to get around to it if you're staying right there on Eagle Beach. And you can easily stay at a hotel that's not an all-inclusive and walk to different restaurants and things like that. But you just, Aruba, it's really cool because a lot of the destinations actually have YouTube videos. So you can Google Aruba COVID YouTube and watch it. It's like 13, it's not very long. If you book Aruba or thinking about it, I usually send it to my clients. But they are doing a fantastic job. And just, again, the masks are the biggest things that you need to wear. All the employees are wearing the mask, the restaurant, the hotel staff, the transportation, the airline staff, everybody is protected. And then again, you can take off your mask once you're at the hotel. Does anybody else have any other questions? All these hotels are pretty much open. If they're not, it's because they're doing renovations or they're brand new. But this is Cancun is a big one that I sell a lot of. Mazatlan is another one. Have you been to Mazatlan, Mary?
Yes, I have.
What's your husband's name?
Several times.
What's your husband's name? Or are you married? You're married. You're married.
John. Well, when we were going, his name is John.
John, okay. I'm pretty sure I've booked you guys, but did you used to travel with friends?
My folks.
Okay, maybe not. But yeah, so that's where I get a lot of my information. I have people asking me about Belize, and I don't know why Costa Rica is not listed on here. But when they're opening destination, they don't really have anything here for me. That kind of throws me. Wonder why Costa Rica is not on here. Any other questions you guys can think of? Oh, that's why Liberia is Costa Rica. So they've opened their doors to European, United Kingdom, and Canada through August. Travelers from the US are not permitted till further notice. So Liberia is Costa Rica. And then San Jose is also Costa Rica. So they're not open to US citizens yet. So it's just something that I have to check into. Caribbean is another one that we can click on. I've had people go to, I think the US Virgin Islands were somewhat hit harder, but they must be open. St. Lucia, you have to have a negative COVID test. I'm surprised it doesn't say it here. Maybe they dropped it. That's the thing is, you just have to ask me where you want to go, and then we have to actually just go and check it. Yeah, so it requires a negative COVID test before arrival. So it's hard to say how long these requirements are going to last, and I don't know if a lot of you guys are more United States travelers than you would be for Mexico or Caribbean. But again, you know, it's something that I can come in here and look. See, and why don't they have Florida in here? Was Florida in a different spot? That's okay. So Florida, I can come and check Fort Myers, and it says face coverings are required when social distance is not possible. So you can pretty much ask me. Key West, masks are required. Tampa is another big one. That county requires anyone entering indoor to wear a mask. So,
So are those primarily just hotels? So like today, on the news or someplace, I was hearing that like, maybe it was last night, Disney World in Florida is open, but not out in California. Or Disneyland is not open in California. Does it tell you those types of things in that?
Yeah, Orange County is Orlando. So Orange County's mask mandate requires anyone to wear a mask at indoor business. So it's hotel until you get into your room. It's a restaurant until you sit down at your table, and the parks, yes.
Does it list the parks when you look on that then?
No, this lists the hotel or an
Just
activity.
the hotels.
Yeah, some activities might be listed, but
Mhm.
Disney did not open all of their hotels. Like the Polynesian isn't opening, the French Quarter isn't opening, the Riverside's not opening. They only opened a few, I would say the majority of them, but Universal, Orlando theme parks, daily temperature parks required. Disney's Epcot and Hollywood must reserve date of entry for each park. Yeah, so they're not doing fast pass and extra magic hours and face masks are required at Disney World. And you have to reserve a whole day to go. You have to reserve one park, and you can't park hop anymore.
Okay.
Right now, again, that's temporary.
Uh-huh.
Good questions. Does anybody else? Did I cover everything you were thinking, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just wondering, before COVID hit, what type of information was on these pages that that you utilized when setting up travel?
Well, this page didn't exist.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I would go to this destination information and I would go, okay, well, what hotels do my clients want to go and stay at in Cancun? And then it's all listed here by star rating, and I always change it by clicking on this arrow, and I change it by name. I know a lot of them by heart. I've either been there or I've visited or have stayed there, but that page didn't exist. Honestly, but I can go into destination information of each destination here and find out what their airport code is, when their best weather is, what currency, what language, time zone, things like that, who should go. A lot of times it'll say travel tidbits, like for example, in the Caribbean, you should not wear camel. It's considered illegal in Jamaica and Dominican Republic and things like that. For whatever reason, the military doesn't want you to do that. Sorry, did someone have a question? No. I can go and see if Delta Vacations and just see, I'm just gonna see if this page is available, something similar just to you guys, and then I can share it if you're just curious. Care standard. How do I move your faces? There. Safe way to travel. There's a really nice coupon out there right now and maybe it's just something you have to go through a travel agent, which is totally fine. I mean, I don't mind if you contact me and say, hey, Amber, what's open and what's for sale. And usually, a lot of people will ask me, well, how do I get paid? What happens is I'll make a package for you through Delta Vacations or FunJet or Apple Vacations or something like that. Same price as what you'd find online, and then the vendor pays me a commission. Same thing as what you would pay typically, or sometimes better. Right now, there's a really good coupon out there. It's a $300 up to $300 off for a package, and if you have a Sky Miles number, which is easy and free to sign up, and if you have their Sky Miles American Express, it's up to $600 off. I'm just trying to see if they had like how do I move this little there? Delta Vacations. Here, this is, yeah, so I'm on delta.com, and then I went under Delta Vacations, and then if you would go to like Florida reopenings here, Mary, and I can send this link out too, but and I don't know if Mike sends out my phone number, my email, and all that contact information when we're done, but then you can always contact me. But it is on the consumer side too. It'll tell you exactly what's required and what hotels are open and things like that. So Daytona Beach, it doesn't look like they have a requirement for masks. The Keys, masks required. So, but yeah, this is on the consumer side as well. which is really nice. Any,
And I can certainly take, if you want to send me any links or anything, I'll just forward the email directly to everybody, and that will include your contact information, Amber, if
Okay.
you'd like.
yeah, let's see. I think, how did I do this? I went here and then I went to here, but I think it's going to make me choose one of these. So are you guys most interested in the US? You're muted, Mary, but I think you said yes. I'll send this link to Mike, and then we'll just go from there. But yeah, the other thing is a lot of things that I've been doing too, just thankfully, the government has approved us self-employed people to be able to get unemployment, but I have been able to do a few here and there hotels, even if you have family coming to Mankato or you're going to Rapid City, or I just booked a VRBO for a family in Rapid City, a 32 house home. So we can do those VRBOs. Airbnb doesn't pay us, but anything to do with travel, even if you're renting a car in Enterprise and Mankato, it always helps to shop local and support your local travel agents. There's quite a few of us in the Mankato area, and we sure would appreciate your business.
So I'm wondering, Amber, do you have, most companies have an organization, somebody who feeds you information that you pay to belong to, and you can get the latest information. I'm wondering, do travel agents have that sort of?
Yeah, we belong to ASTA, American Society of Travel Agents. We belong to CLIA, which is the Cruise Lines International Association. We belong to IATAN, which is the International Airlines Travel Association. I get a lot of information from ASTA. They're our advocates. They're the ones pushing for the sale orders to be lifted. Or there was some article that came out that there was some scams that travel agents are trying to get money from consumers, which is crazy. Literally, I don't get paid until you travel. So if you book today for July of next year to go to Alaska, I don't get paid until you travel. I don't know how anybody would be getting any money out of anybody, but ASTA went to bat for us and basically said, no, it's quite the opposite. Travel agents are not getting paid at all. By the time you go, it'll be the third touch. So we booked you the first time, then we canceled you, including your excursions and your airfare and your insurance. Because a lot of insurance, they allowed us to push it out too for 2 years, depending on the company. And now the third time when you rebook, it'll be the third touch. So it's almost like we should be getting paid triple and we're not. And so it was quite a deal. And they went to bat for us. Is that what you mean? Kind of a,
Yeah,
we do. Yeah.
I can make a comment about that. I'm glad I actually know your sister, which is why I wanted to hear you today.
I thought your name sounded familiar.
Sarah, but years ago we booked Hawaii, and Don wanted to take our daughter. I can figure it was right before 9/11. And we got this notice that the airline tickets needed to be bought, so send that money. Well, Don sent a check for the three of us, and then we got notice not too long after that they had filed for bankruptcy. And what we learned when I'm actually from Marshall, Minnesota, and I talked to someone at a convention who was a travel agent out there, and she said, that's interesting because your travel agent should have known that. I bet your travel agent didn't belong to these associations that we were just talking about.
Right.
And at that time I was working in a bank, so I was asking some of the bankers, and they're like, well, they're building a ship down in the south. The judge is going to feel the worst for the shipping company. So you probably will never get anything. But the interesting part of the story was it was many months, if not years afterwards, we got a check for the exact amount that Don had.
Oh, good.
Because most people had a good quality charge card, and they withdrew their payment.
Yep.
There were only two, my husband and someone else, that paid with the check. And they said when it went up before the bankruptcy court, he felt so bad for those families that he put it in the ruling that we got our money back.
Oh, that's good.
But it's a good lesson in having someone like you who has a fever on that. We would have never had to survive all that mess. It was disappointing, I'll tell you. It was one of those, I don't know if you heard, where you flew over, but then you went by boat to all the islands.
Yep. Norwegian Cruise Line.
But I
Was it
can't.
yeah, I still booked that one. Yep.
It was probably
Yeah.
something. It was just a small agent that we had gone to Branson with a few times, and then she approached Don and I, and he had just inherited some money, and he said, "I think we're going to do it." And
Yeah.
we did go back later, but our daughter couldn't go. By then, her life
Yeah.
was much more complicated. But
Yeah, so you are protected when you purchase anything with debit or credit card, because you're able to do that. There's three things. That's one. The second one is if you bought travel insurance, there's actually a bankruptcy clause in there that, as long as they're not on the bankruptcy list, because as soon as they talk about bankruptcy, they get on the list. But if it was a surprise to all the shareholders and everything, then you're covered there. And the third thing is, I've actually witnessed a couple times other travel agents in offices that I volunteered. What's that called when before I could go to school for a travel agent, I had to go and work in a travel agency office. And I don't know how, because it should have been kept, but we're talking 25 years ago, it should have been kept much more confidential, but I saw clients pay with cash and check, and somehow I was there when the travel agent got in trouble. Literally, she would pocket it and not pay for their trip. So we're the third. We're your advocate. What happens is we take your debit or your credit card, and then I type it in, and the money never really comes to us. So anybody that ever asks you for a check, I mean, I even just had this happen not too long ago. They said, I just sent a check to XYZ person, and they didn't pay for my vacation. I said, no, your check, which actually I have a group who was supposed to go to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky and see the Ark. You guys know what I'm talking about? A church group.
Yeah.
And they all wanted to pay by check. So what I did was I had them send their check directly to the vendor, which was called Southwest Tour and Travel. And that was totally fine, and they took the check, but it doesn't come to the agent. We can't do that. Because I saw that 25 years ago when I was, what is that called?
internship.
Apprenticeship.
I was at an intern place for 6 months. We had to do this before we could apply to be a travel agent. I suppose they wanted to see who could sink or swim, because it's a lot of dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and it's hair raising, and you're pulling your hair out. And somehow I saw it happen, and then I saw them get in trouble, and it was pretty crazy. But yeah, you definitely want to pay, and I get it. I don't use credit cards. I totally get it. But then you got to use your debit card, but because you're protected. But yeah, unfortunately, even with COVID, I guess there was a lot of chargebacks, not with my clients, but it took 3 months sometimes for people to get their money back. But I just kept reassuring and touching base and saying, your money's coming, it's okay. I promise, I met your advocate, I will get this for you. And it eventually came, but there was, millions and millions, billions that got refunded. And it's definitely going to be a different cruise.
Is that a reason then that it's better to book through a travel agent than on your own, than to go online on your own and book?
Oh gosh, yes, for sure. I had some clients who she booked her air on her own, and she needed to cancel, and I said, you have to call, and she was on hold for like 8 hours.
Okay.
And some people, Delta Vacations, I was on hold for 15 minutes. So,
Okay.
it saves you a lot of time. 9 out of 10 times nothing's going to happen. I just had a client who approached me the other day. She's a owner of a company in Mankato, and she has 5 people in her family, and they bought 2 tickets on Expedia, 2 on Orbitz, and 1 through the airline. They have to go. I can do the airline one, but those third parties own those airline tickets, even though it's all on Delta Airlines. It's the only time I charge a service fee is if I don't know, let's say, Mary, you decided you wanted to go and see your kids and they're in Miami. I do have some older clients that just aren't comfortable with pushing all the buttons and making all the decisions. And what if they do something wrong? I charge a $40 fee per person. But really, in the scheme of things, when COVID happens or you leave your jacket on the flight or anything like that can happen, I'm your advocate. I'm here for you. I have clients that text me, that message me on Facebook. I'm here for you, and the $40 really is pretty minimal. And they book, you know, once or twice a year. But otherwise, the vendors, I get paid directly through the vendor, and so really it doesn't cost you anymore, shouldn't, to go through me.
And I know
Okay.
travel agents are so important because when I was at MSU, we did the spring break trip to New York every year. And there
Mhm.
was one year we were all loaded on the flight to head to New York. We were held there for a while. They told us the flight had been canceled. It took us several minutes, you know, a long time to get off. By the time we got off of there, our travel agent had booked us on another flight. So all we had to do was
Yeah,
go from there to our next gate. And that's
right.
not something you would have ever been able to do on your own.
Not a whole group like
Okay.
that, no. Yeah,
Okay.
we save you time, we save you money. And one thing I like to tell people, like today I'm booking a honeymoon couple to the Dominican Republic, and she added on like $800 worth of excursions. She's doing a zip line, she's doing a dolphin swim, she's doing there's this thing called Monkey Land, and then she's doing Sanoa Island. And you know, she could have sat down with someone at a desk in Dominican Republic, and that person would have got that commission. And honestly, we're only talking about $80 or something that I'm making off of her. But the time that you save sitting down at that desk in the Dominican Republic, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever been on an all-inclusive vacation, but they're all on vacation time. They do not do anything quickly, which is totally fine. You're supposed to be there and be having fun and have a Coke and rum or whatever in your hand. But I would rather be at the beach honestly, I'm a pool girl, than sitting down with someone going, this is what I want to do. It's different if you don't know what you want to do, but we can do just about anything for you. You just have to ask.
Okay.
Mary, do you go to church? Mary McGaw, do you go to church with my sister? I can't remember how you know her.
No, I just know her. But a more recent story, and Mike is somewhat aware too. My old daycare providers are big travelers, were anyway.
Okay.
They were running around in Asia for a couple months and saying things like, "We might be coming home soon," and the next thing they go, "You know, we actually booked a train into China."
Yeah.
And, yeah, and they never knew about COVID. See, he does his own booking, I think. Is
Yeah.
what happened. And they didn't know until they arrived. They were 2 nights on the train. When they got there, like there was like nobody on the street and things started falling apart very quickly. And
Yeah.
I put out on Facebook, I'm kind of security minded. I'm thinking you get the quickest flight out of there.
Yes. Yes.
Time change in the morning, she wrote back and she said, Rich is on the phone right now, actually, Mary. But it was still, I think they planned to be there a week at that particular place in China, but it took them a few days. That was when they brought the diplomats home. But they were not getting that news. They
Yeah.
didn't know that that flight was coming in, and actually they ended up having to do nothing. It was one of those, I mean, we really didn't have very good control. There's people that should have been tested and they weren't. They were expecting a 2-week delay. But
Right.
well, again, I'm just giving you sales pitches for a travel agent because
Thank you.
the first thing I thought was, well, if he had been working, I mean, just like with you, you would have known, and you would have said, "Oh, Rich, don't go now." But it's part of their story, and they got home safe.
Right.
So
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I know the other thing I was thinking of too is there are things that we know to ask and to think of. A lot of times I'll be on the phone with the vendor and they'll say something and I'll say, are you sure? Because in 21 years, that's not how I've had that done. And I'll be like, no, that's supposed to be free, or they're supposed to get this or that. And with COVID, on my desk, I bet I have 50 files of families travel vouchers that they need to redeem by the end of next year to travel with. But in a couple of cases, if your airline that you were booked on, depending on the airline, each has their own rules. Delta See, now I'm getting it mixed up, but I think Delta is 3 hours, United's 4 hours, American might be 2 hours. But that's where you ask your travel agent if there's a schedule change and they've taken out your flight and now they've put you on a different one because they're like, this one's gone, we're just going to automatically put you on this one. You can actually cancel your whole trip and get your money back instead of getting a travel voucher. And that happened for probably 5% of my clients, but that's not something that you would just know by not going through an agent. There was even a couple times where I had to get the attorney general involved in order to get the vendor to. I had a client who she spent $35,000 on a multi-generational trip, and the vendor did not want to let them change to next year because that just wasn't their policy in their little fine print. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is a lot of money. And they're like, well, we'll give them half back. 17,000 is what they wanted to give them. And so that's something that a travel agent is really going to fight for you because we know that that's not right. I mean, it's just, I mean, we're not saying that, I mean, we're just not saying, yes, they didn't want to go, but we're not talking about, stubbing a toe. We're talking about a darn pandemic here with an 80-year-old woman, kids, and her grandkids. So we do a lot. And again, every person, every order is different. Every situation is different because your life is different. Everybody's a certain height. You might want first class. Did you know there's different multiple levels on a flight now? There's coach, and then there's the middle seats, which the middle section, which is economy comfort. Then there's first class. So if you're 6'4", I'm going to say, hey, if I see you, do you want to upgrade for $125 each way so that you're, not getting dug into the back of your knees, and just different things like that we're going to suggest to you that you wouldn't think of to try to help your trip go a little bit more smooth and come back again next time.
Question for you, Amber.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody knows when things are going to change or get back to normal, but I'm wondering if you folks have had any inkling of how long from the time a decision is made to reopen until people will actually be accepting reservations and hotel customers and that sort of thing.
You'll have people that'll arrive on that day that they open. I think it just depends on your family and your situation. You and I were talking about Tim, the bowler, and he isn't bowling this year because he has 4 or 5 kids, where maybe someone who doesn't have any kids, who maybe feels a little bit more fancy free, they would just go. I have a 13-year-old, but I would probably just go. I have faith in what they're doing. It's hard to say how long before people would go. I think once we get a vaccine, people are going to be rushing through the doors, and I'm going to be working my regular 12-hour days like normal.
And I guess I was also wondering, as far as the hotels and the flights and everything being available, if they need a 3-week lead time, or if when the decision is made, if they'll be able to say within a week we'll be open and accepting guests.
Oh yeah, yes, we can do last minute reservations. Is that what you're asking?
Necessarily last minute reservations, but how long it's going to take for the industry to crank up again and be available.
To 100%. I think it's going to depend on the vaccine. And I've heard people say, I don't know if they're reverse or referring to the biblical. They said a pandemic lasts 1 to 2 years. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's just, it's all going to depend on when Canada opens and when Europe opens. And once that happens, because already really Mexico and the Caribbean are open. And the US for the most part, you just have to wear a mask. So it's just really gonna, I think once it does, the gates are just gonna be flooded because everybody's tired of sitting. I'm tired of, I just get out. It's kind of crazy how certain things light your fire in different areas, but I don't know if I'm sure a lot of you do, but when I was a kid on Sundays, we'd just go out and drive for 2 hours and watch the sunset in our vehicle. I've been doing that lately, like just get in my car and drive on County Road 5 or go down by New Ulm on that scenic byway or the Henderson scenic byway. Just get out and do something because I'm just tired of sitting here being cooped up. So
Anybody else have any questions?
thanks for interacting, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And if you have anything that you want to share, Amber, please do, and I will just forward it along to everybody
Okay.
who's here today.
I'll share the link of that one page, and then if you just want to forward them my signature line so they have my contact info, that'd be great. Okay,
All
nice
right.
to meet you all.
Traveling.
All
Nice to
right.
meet
Thank you
you.
all. Thank you, Amber.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.